What's up, YouTube? It's JP Dunphy, your BMW genius here at BMW for Washington. I just wanted to make a little follow-up video because we did have a little bit of mic issues on our 7 Series premiere event from Wednesday night. So I did want to do kind of a follow-up for you guys, go over some things that I didn't really get a chance to, or at least didn't think of off the top of my head in the middle of that initial view. I am currently in the i7, in case you can't tell from this video here. But I did want to go over a couple things that are kind of worth mentioning for those of you that might be moving from a previous 7 Series or have never been in a 7 Series before. Some things that are worth knowing, stuff like, for instance, the new 7 Series has grown by 5.1 inches, which doesn't seem like much, but that makes the whole overall length of this car 212.2 inches in length, which means this is actually longer than an X7. So just something to think about there. On top of that, it increased by 1.9 inches in width to 76.8 inches altogether, and 2 inches in height. So all in all, it has significantly grown from the previous generation, which of course is worth knowing. In terms of the trunk space, the gas models get 13.7 cubic feet, and the i7 gets 11.4 cubic feet, which is kind of, slightly disappointing for the size of it, but that whole change does mean that that change makes a massive interior focus to give more comfort for the rear seats. That 42.5 degree of reclining when you get the lounge seat option, and all that basically means that it's a benchmark for the segment. It comes with things like 4-zone climate control standard. It has the panoramic sky lounge, which you can see above me. I've shown that in the previous videos as well, and of course this wonderful thing right here behind me as well, which is the cinematic screen. Now, something that's worth noting about the cinematic screen, it has everything from a 16:9 standard view, 21:9 aspect ratio, and a 32:9 aspect ratio. The screen itself is 31.2 inches, and yeah, it's pretty impressive all around. If you didn't see, I did make a full video about that and all that stuff. I'll link that in the description below for you. Another thing that's worth noting about this, if you didn't know about it, is that the 7 Series architecture now does some things that were not done before in the past. So the 7 Series has a flexible vehicle architecture, meaning that in the same frame, it is possible to have 3 different drivetrains. So in the US, we get the ICE engine, so the 740 and the 760, with a turbo inline 6 and the twin turbo V8. And then, of course, the i7 all-electric model. Overseas, they do get the 760e, which is a plug-in hybrid version, but we unfortunately don't get that here in the US. Sorry, I almost dropped the phone there. We don't get that in the US. It also has the adaptive recoup that's currently found as an option in the i4 and standard in the iX. For the i7, one of the nice benefits of that is that if you're going down any kind of downhill sections, it actually now has a newer software version of the adaptive recoup that takes into account things like downhill sections as well as info from traffic lights. So for traffic light recognition, so it'll do things like actually, increase this thing when it sees a red light up ahead versus a green light. So that's kind of fun. Another thing that makes the i7 especially helpful. Sorry, I keep kind of losing my visual aspect here on the video. Another thing that makes the i7 especially helpful over the i4 and the iX is a brand new charging software, and that basically now has a smooth drop off towards the top of charging rather than the whole stepped style. So normally it's more like a step style. That basically results in a little bit more of a longer charge time because it gradually quickly drops down rather than a gradual drop down. But now with a smoother drop down, that means that the i7 now has a shorter charge time in comparison to the same size battery found in the iX. Another big change for it is that is coming out across the other ones is the charging profile that can actually be based on GPS location. So you can have an automatic charge profile for, say, one thing for Electrify America. If you go to one thing, it's going to be Electrify America has X amount of charge for it. Another one has 100 kilowatts versus 350 kilowatts. So you can basically change your profiles to that. If you go to a certain level 2, you can GPS tag that, and it'll say this level 2 only does 7 kilowatts, so let's only ask for 7 kilowatts, versus another one that does 11 kilowatts. So that's helpful to have going forward. Another thing about it is the preheater for fast charging is now manually selectable, so you don't have to have, if you're not using the onboard navigation, you can now manually tell it to preheat for fast charge rather than having it do automatically, which happens when it's in the built-in navigation itself. So what that basically means is if you're using, say, Apple Maps or Waze or Google Maps, not the onboard navigation, you can then tell it, hey, I'm going to a fast charger, manually hit it, and it's going to precondition the battery for that, which is extremely helpful. All that basically means that you can do all that without relying for the navigation to do the work, and it makes it a little bit more flexible as opposed to the previous situation where you couldn't do it that way. EPA range, of course, for the i7 being 316 miles, uses the same 111.5 kilowatt hour battery as the iX, but the same 536 horsepower from the i4 M50. All that does have a limit of use of 101.7 kilowatts of usable energy from that. And a nice little benefit of that as well is the battery has its own 5.5 kilowatt heater. So gets up to temperature right and quick for cold weather starts, preconditioning and all that, meaning you don't have to precondition for as long to get up to proper operating temperatures, which, keeps the battery temps where it needs to be for you for trips. The other thing that's kind of worth mentioning is that all of the 7 Series now have the adaptive suspension, the adaptive air suspension on both axles, as well as electronically controlled dampening, which makes this thing not only comfortable, but sporty as well. And of course, last but not least, is the integrated steering, which, if you haven't seen that, means that when you turn the wheel all the way to one side, at low speeds, it turns counter to your main turning wheel, and at higher speeds, it turns with your turning wheel, giving you better stability at high speeds and better maneuverability at lower speeds. So that's sort of the kind of quick overview. I just want to go over those couple things. I don't think I touched on all those exact aspects when I did the 7 Series event or the previous 7 Series video, so I just wanted to go over that real quick. And again, just as a quick recap for that, so you have the 740, which has a turbocharged inline 6. That makes 375 horsepower. You have the 760, which is now the twin-turbo V8. That's the S68 engine. Same one found, that's an M Series engine that's found in only M cars otherwise. First time outside of an M car in the 7 Series, and of course in the X7 as well, in the X7 M60. So it shares that engine with that car as well. And of course that one makes 500 and excuse me. That one makes the 537 horsepower, 537 horsepower in the i7 as well, because again, 536 horsepower, brain. 536 horsepower found in not only the 760, but also in the i7. There is future talk of an i7 M60 coming out, which will have the upgrade horsepower from the iX M60. If that comes out, or more likely when that comes out, that'll be registered probably as an iX M. It might be an IM 760 or i7 M60, depending on how they decide to nomenclature that. But that'll be the 600 over 600 horsepower, 811 pound-feet of torque, which will make this thing pretty darn fast. It's still 4.5 seconds 0 to 60 in the current setup for it. And yeah, by the way, fun side note, if you didn't know this already, as of a couple days ago, now if you go on and set up your eSIM, now it's not just T-Mobile available for eSIM, but you also have AT&T set up for eSIM as well. We're still waiting on Verizon to come out and do that one. So if you have a Verizon and you really want one of these cars, please let them know. Hey, sign the contract, get us the eSIM with BMW, so that way they call it the BMW Magenta in the other ones, but basically be able to do your eSIM in BMW. The only one that's currently the holdout is, of course, Verizon. So, if you have one, please tell them, get us this. Please, please, please get us this. And, you know, vent your stuff to customer support. They'll help that. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you have anything you want me to go over in these cars that I haven't already, please link that in the comment below and let me know. If there's anything you want to see going forward, let me know that as well. And, yeah. I hope also I tried something a little bit different with this one. I've you know, putting our little things on this side. So let me know if that was helpful for you, if you found it easier to do that. More transitions, think of it more as a different style of doing this. If you find that helpful, let me know. If you like the older way of me doing it, let me know that too. I'm just trying something new with this one, and yeah. So let me know what you think. Thanks so much. Have a good one through your day, guys.